I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. On Wednesdays, we talk about business, wealth creation, and we look at the various extensions of what it means to be an economic uh, prosperity mode, to be focused, to be thinking about, to be doing things that build personal, family, and community economies. And today's program does that from a couple of points of view. I'm going to be starting off talking to my friend and leader in community, Elder Atum Azzahir. She's the founder and executive director of the Cultural Wellness Center in South Minneapolis. And as part of that mission is doing massive work on building economies in our community, having us and the people outside of us understand the integral and necessary role that we have to play in an entrepreneurial field to be moving towards self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and resilience. And then after that, I'm going to introduce you to a new friend, Larvel Bunker, who is an entrepreneur who is in a business that helps people become franchise owners. It's going to be a great conversation, and then we'll wrap up with all of us talking together about our view, our challenges, our opportunities, our critique of community, and our presentation of possibility. Where are we going? What can we do? What must we do as we pursue fulfillment, development, and the movement toward our authentic selves? Well, first, let me ask you who are listening, thank you for tuning in to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. As always, we want you to support us by becoming a subscriber. You do that by going to YouTube, Insight News MN, Insight News Minnesota, and click the subscribe button. Of course, share, of course, like. We've crossed the 500 threshold. We're looking to get 1,000 subscribers. We invite you to support us, to help us by becoming a subscriber, also by asking your friends, your contacts, your networks to check out what we're doing and to subscribe as well. We let you know that we're streaming across 2 YouTube platforms, not only the YouTube Insight News platform, but in partnership with the Black Press of America. We're streaming to and we're hosted by Black Press USA. That's the website for the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Obviously, Insight News, a part of that esteemed organization, champion of our identity, our rights, our freedom. And we are streaming across 3 Facebook platforms and streaming across Twitter Live and LinkedIn Live. So wherever you're connecting, we value and appreciate you. We want you to go to the YouTube Insight News, subscribe, and tell everybody you know to subscribe to this program. I want you to know, too, that I have been a fan and a proponent of the work that's being done by Dr. Greg Carr, who's head of the Afrocentric Studies Department at Howard University, and he's doing this work in connection with Dr. Karen Hunter, who is a serious radio personality, and together they've created a project called Nubia, Knubia, and the Nubia project is an extension of a larger, grander vision called narrative, the word narrative with a K, just like knowledge is spelled with a K. The narrative in Nubia strategies are to use social media, digital platforms to build towards, create a space for collaboration so that we can build an information system that is ours, that supports our point of view, and that grows intellectual and cooperation opportunities for us and among us. Well, it's like trying to build the 2023 version of the Great Pyramid. And Karen and Greg, Dr. Hunter and Dr. Carr and their team invite all of us to bring our bricks. How do we all together around the world bring technology bricks, bring our knowledge, our experience, our know-how, our expertise, and add to this developing icon, developing symbol of our genius and creativity that reflects, the sense of longevity in the future, such as the pyramids reflected from the past. Well, if you get a chance, go to narrative.com, check them out, join, support. These interviews that I do on the Conversation with Al McFarlane get posted there as well. And our ground game has always been these interviews are also used as feature stories in our flagship business, which is Insight News. www Insight News, check that out. A PDF version of the publication at issue.com, issuu.com/Insight News. Lots of ways to connect. We want to connect with you. We thank you for being a part of this. Well, Atum Azzahir is the founder and executive director of Minneapolis's Cultural Wellness Center. She is a doctor of literature. You have to explain this to me, from the International Kefren Institute that she earned in May 2007. And the International Kefren Institute is about Black life internationally, as we just discussed, building sustainable cultural institutions in African communities throughout the African diaspora. She's the founder of the Cultural Wellness Center, which is an African-American nonprofit, which is centered on the idea that when culture and community knowledge are studied and valued, they are powerful tools for health, healing, community building, and economic development. And her passion is helping to fix things like the Child Protection Service. And that passion stems from the fact that based on the scrutiny and removal that disrupt and destroy Black families, there's a need for attention. She says that to this day, systemic racism breaks us down, limits where we can live, and the schools we can attend. It fuels deep mistrust of people in power. So as a result, and in response, over the past 25 years, the Cultural Wellness Center has developed and seen how we can change lives when we build Black people's cultural wellness and community care systems. We know that there's a better model, for example, than policing of Black families and reliance on other government systems. We'll talk about all that and more. Elder Atum, once again, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and it's always powerful to hear you describe all of what you do and talk about and work with on a day-by-day basis, and put it in the context of Black people recovering ourselves and really and truly owning our freedom. So it's always great to be with you. Thank you for inviting me today.
Well, thank you. I was talking with our friend Gary Hines yesterday, interviewed him, and just in the course of this was the power of the power of being together. Number one,
Yes,
it's not mysterious; it's just natural unfolding of what needs to unfold. And
yes,
in the course of the conversation, I talked about solutions, and it came to me that the solution is in the Blackness. And it's in the sound of Blackness as well. And so
yes,
not only is that a body of singers and a group and an institution, but it's a concept that has celestial, that has almost divine origin, because sound and Blackness mean a lot at the
yes,
cosmic level. I'm gonna drop that on you. What
yes.
about that?
Wow. As usual, brother, you open with something that you and I could talk about forever. And I want to just kind of quickly say that part of what you've just said and how it plays out for me is that I am in the process of working with someone who is looking at how gospel music and blues and jazz in particular
Mm-hmm.
was the kind of expression of the African's way of dealing with pain and suffering. So when we think about the church, when you're in any church, whether it's particularly the Baptist and Pentecostal, you'll hear lots of humming. And I often try my best to do the same kind of humming that they did as the elders, ministers, and preachers were getting ready to sing a song. And they start this kind of humming kind of thing. And I know that people who are younger than we don't necessarily know that humming, but they also do it in other forms of music and so forth. But this humming is our way of calling into existence the spirit and the soul. And the spirit and the soul, then through the gospel music, the old gospel music, that then brings us to a level of consciousness that we are even unconscious of, speaking in tongues and all of those kind of things that happen in the church in many cases. That I'm learning and beginning to see is the way we connected with the Creator in creation at a level that we were even necessarily not always conscious of. And that was expressed then in the gospel, in the blues, in such a way that it lifted those who were listening up to a higher level of consciousness also. Does that make sense? So when you bring that up and you think about Gary, and you talk about Gary Hines and the Sounds of Blackness, that's what comes to mind for me.
That's amazing. Well, that's wonderful. You've got an event coming up this weekend. Would you talk about that? Invite people to participate, be aware, and support.
Yes. Well, this is the weekend for what is called Small Business Saturday. Saturday is Small Business Saturday. Friday, as you know, is Black Friday, which is termed Black Friday, pretty much because of the shopping, the amount of shopping, the volume and so forth of shopping that happens the day after Thanksgiving. So what we wanted to do is to blend the idea of cultural wellness and the idea of cultural health and put it in the context of small businesses, because it isn't always known that health practitioners, health products, the kind of things that our people do, even in home-based businesses, is indeed a business. So this weekend, this Saturday, as a part of Small Business Saturday, we are hosting a cultural health products, services, and practitioners event at the Midtown Global Market. Those anchor businesses inside of the Midtown Global Market, the food businesses that are amazing, and many people who have gone know many of them. But those food businesses will join forces with small businesses who come from a health point of view and bring forward healthy products that we in our community are beginning to learn how to enjoy, and to enjoy in such a way so it doesn't feel like we're having to suffer. So an example is one of the small businesses that we're doing is Living Abundantly, which is founded by a young brother who his business is called Philip Prosper. He is Philip Prosper. His business is called Living Abundantly, and he has created these juices, and they are plant-based or fruit-based. And what we find is the taste in itself often fools you into really thinking that it might not be healthy because it's so good. But he's formed a business for this. He is going to be there with his products along with many others. But thought healing and more kinds of activities that has to do with the crystals and has to do with teaching us how to be a part of using the elements in creation, and how we use the things that we know about to address cardiovascular and diabetic diseases, these diseases that have us really doing, that has done a lot of harm to us and crippled us in many ways. So the food tasting will happen. You will have Robert Taylor, who is my son, who does this amazing food, is a chef for that. He will be there. We will be offering savory soups and smoothies. And once again, grab and go meal kits that really is plant-based. We will have health practices demonstrations on the stage. T. Michael Rambo will be is our host person, and then we will have movement and other exercises also on stage. So that's what we're doing this Saturday, and it's from 10 to 5:30. So if people can't come at 10, you'll have other things that you can participate during the course of the day. And the businesses in the market will also have specials that people can take part in. So that's what we're doing this Saturday.
Yeah, let's give the people an idea of who's in the marketplace. And I'd love to have you spend a minute or two talking about the origin of the Midtown Global Market. That is a unique enterprise and convening in and of itself. It's nothing like it in Twin Cities, I think. But tell us about the global market.
The Midtown Global Market actually is now, we're going into about the 12th year being in existence. The Cultural Wellness Center is really one of the, what I think of as a minor owner neighborhood development center. This major development organization that is actually housed, has their home office in St. Paul and across the Twin Cities. They've done development. Developed the Midtown Global Market as a call from the community to put something in place that would house community-based, culturally based businesses. So it is a public market. Most of the businesses are food businesses. The food businesses range from coffee shop, which at one point, one of the Black-owned coffee shops in St. Paul was in the building. We have the Vietnamese, and we have Korean-based, and we have different businesses or different foods in the future. As a matter of fact, a Caribbean food business is going to be going in. We had one before, but they're gone. Our role has been to help our role, Cultural Wellness Center's role, has been able to really connect community and culture to the idea of this public market offering business, offering services to the community. It came into existence because the Sears building that had been empty 10 years on this corner of Chicago and Lake was finally asked the city and was able to, through Ryan Companies, develop this into what is the public market. And the Cultural Wellness Center, really, in terms of what we think of as a minor owner of the market, we are really there to make sure culture and community is a part of building the entrepreneurial and the entrepreneurial wealth practices that happens in that community. So that's an abbreviated version of how it came into existence. There are 32 businesses. The recent addition to the businesses is actually a barbershop owned by a Black man who is doing amazing work. He is building it up and bringing the barbershop and the beauty salon into the market, which is a new addition that is very important for us.
Atum, what's your own personal background? What's your story? How did you come to this work? I think I'm not sure if I asked you this before, but I love to get people's story and the idea of whose shoulders do you stand on, and what impels you, compels you, invites you, and supports you in the work.
Well, I think first of all, let me just say to people that I continue to be so grateful that this year I turned 80, and living for 80 years as a Black woman. I was also born and raised in Mississippi, 1943, in the Delta portions of Mississippi. And I came to understand that in my early years, that actually it was not a liability to be Black. And I learned that because my mother and father were what today people think of as not academically prepared, that their intellectual skills and so forth came from their nature. I mean, they were naturally intelligent, so they were able to survive all of the atrocities that were committed to get them. I am one of two children, the youngest of the two children. We did not, at the time that I was growing up, my brother finished about the fifth grade. I was the one who really studied how to learn, studied and learned how to read and write in particular. But because my family were not in the kind of educated class, and I say that with cautions, we learned how to make it on our own. I learned how to take care of myself, learned how to create something out of nothing. And that's what I've done all of these years. The Cultural Wellness Center is my contribution to our people for what it took for us to survive. So we study who we are. I've traveled extensively in Africa and the Caribbean so that I can see how people think, not just how they live, because many people come back and think there is empowerment. But what I see is a kindness and a caring that is connected to a divine order. And so when we talk about ancestors and we talk about whose shoulders have we stood on, that's the reason I commit myself to stand on the shoulders of people like, for example, Mahalia Jackson, or examples of people who used our own pain and suffering and turned it into something which we call knowledge. As it relates to the idea that you talked about, the International Catholic Institute, my husband and I created this because he is a student, a very deep student of Egypt and what is called Kemetic thought. He was one of the first to say to me that for us as people of African heritage, we have to study every domain of Egypt, just the way the European did of Greek, in order to give ourselves what is really a body of modern sciences that's grounded in our culture. And modern sciences include what you talked about today in terms of the IT and all the technology, because their system of thought begins with science and ends with technology. Whereas ours as Black people, we do everything in the context of spirituality. And that is a system of thought. It's a system of thought to think of the spirit first and try to end with harmony, harmonizing ourselves in concept with the Creator. I've learned that myself, taught it myself, written about it myself, and we were able to develop a school in it with my husband, Saber Ahmed. So that's what I am. I think that Elder Mahmoud and others who were teaching Black history were my teachers. I learned that I did not want to fight other people to get freedom. I wanted to look at the intellectual capture. We were captured intellectually and spiritually. And I wanted us to free ourselves intellectually and spiritually, which is why I'm a part of what we think of as teaching classes and courses and teaching people to stand on who we are and how we are and how we have taught the world to be the best, but at the same time, not giving any credit for that. So that's who I am. I appreciate the question. I constantly say to people when I come on this show, you're able to bring out the knowledge that you and I both try to live by. And so I thank you for the time you've given me on that today.
Well, I thank you for the work you have done and are doing, and for the way that you're making in building a future. I think you represent the efficacy and the importance of assuming that we have an obligation to co-author the future.
That's right.
The future that matters is the future that we write. And we have to trust ourselves and study, as you said, to prepare ourselves, and then study how to collaborate, how to cooperate, how to share, how to build, how to test, and how to pivot as we create a future that sustains human life.
That's correct. That's correct. And one of the sayings that I have is, we don't do to others what they have done to us, but we do for others what we did for ourselves in ancient times. We do so much for others. and we don't necessarily ask for credit. But at this point in time, we have to take credit for what our people have both developed in ancient and in current times. And I think that's what our young people are doing, which is wealth building is a part of that.
Thank you so much. Hang loose, stay with me because I want to bring in our other guest today, and that's Larvel Bunker. I met her at the Black Men's Legacy Summit held last month, I think, or the month before, up at what we call the Thor Building in North Minneapolis, the project presented by Build Wealth Minnesota. And the idea was to assemble a lot of institutional and entrepreneurial and community resources, both to exhibit and present information about their work, but also to be part of a selection of panels, discussions that really was far and wide reaching. The object of it is to eliminate any excuse any Black man could have for not moving on the plane of personal and family and community and cultural development and wealth creation. Well, Larvel Bunker was one of the presenters, both as a business but also as a panelist. She's a native of Minnesota and has more than 30 years of professional experience in marketing and communications. She's been and as a, both in the corporate and entrepreneurial arena. She's been a program manager, a facilitator, lifestyle coach at national nonprofit organizations. She's got a bachelor's degree from the Minnesota State University at Mankato. And until recently, she and her husband, Randy, co-owned and operated a multi-unit home healthcare franchise here in Twin Cities. They purchased startup units and grew the business straight through the global pandemic into a thriving business. And after negotiating the sale of that franchise business, they launched their present company, which is called Foresight Franchise Consultants. Foresight, Forsyght, franchise consultants. And the mission of that is to inform people about franchise business opportunities. And for people who are interested, guide them, help them get through the franchise ownership process. Sister Larvel, good afternoon. Welcome to the conversation. Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Al. Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here.
Well, let's jump right into it. I think some people may not understand, and what you're doing is providing the knowledge. What is a franchise? How does it work? And how can we see ourselves benefiting from becoming franchise owners or in the franchise field?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think most people, when they think about a franchise, they think about the Golden Arches, right? McDonald's. That is the largest franchise business in the world. But what a franchise is, it is a business model that allows an entrepreneur to enter into a contractual relationship with a proven business system. And with that relationship, you get the right to operate the business just as they do. So using their support services, their systems. And so with that right to operate as such, there comes a mutual beneficial portion too. You do have to pay some franchise fees. There's they provide you training, ongoing support. And so it's a back and forth relationship where it benefits them to help support you and your business to be successful.
How did you get into franchising? I mentioned a little bit, but tell me more about the details of how you became a franchise owner.
Well, for a long time, like many people, I dreamed about owning my own business. Felt like I had some good ideas and wanted to be the boss. And I had never got anything off the ground. My husband, Randy, he was constantly in corporate and, the main provider of the household. And I would jump in and out of corporate work, of the nonprofit work that you mentioned. But that desire, that dream was always there, Al, but never able to get anything off the ground. I found out about franchising after my sister was working at a business that was a franchise and started talking to me about it. So I looked into it. I connected with the franchise consultant, someone doing exactly what I'm doing right now, and she guided me through the process. It was an eye-opening experience for me and Randy to know that it exists. Nobody had ever talked to me about it. I knew about starting your own business, all of that, hanging up your shingle, but buying into a system that already exists and has proven results was new to me. And it fit with my corporate background, right? I'm very systems oriented and processes. And so that fit for us too. And so then we purchased the home healthcare franchise because it spoke to who we are at our core. It's a service business. I mean, you're helping seniors and the disabled. Our foundational base was adults. We didn't work with children, and so it was the franchise consultant and my dreams all coming into to view. And quite honestly, Al, getting tired of waiting for the stars to align. There's never a perfect time to start a business. It doesn't happen like that. And also the weight of, I guess to say it, the consequences of regret outweighed our fears of the unknown finally, and we took the leap.
That's amazing. And so what makes how do you, as a consultant now, identify what would be a quote unquote good candidate for owning a franchise? And what kinds of franchise opportunities are out there? Like you said, I think for ordinary people, when you say franchise, you think about the Golden Arches, McDonald's, or something like that. But there are many, many, many more areas of endeavor. What are some?
Right. In fact, Al, there's more than 3,000 different franchise opportunities. There's just something across at least 28 different categories. So there's home services, and that could be anything from windows, painting, lawn care provider, fencing, roofing, you name it. There's health and beauty, which could be eyebrows, waxing, barbershops, you name it. And it is out there. And so, but some of the things to think about if you're wondering, is this for you? I will say that it varies. The characteristics vary based on the industry, some and the franchise model. But in general, there are some aspects, some characteristics that you'll find in any entrepreneur franchisee. Specifically for the franchisee, the first and foremost is you have to trust the system. You have to believe in the system you're buying into because that's what you're investing in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's imperative that you follow the model. You have to trust it and follow it in order to even attempt to achieve the results that they say it could do. Okay. The financial preparedness is another one. To borrow a phrase that we heard at the Legacy Summit, you need to keep it 700, right? With your credit score. Credit worthiness is important. You don't have to have the money sitting around to fully fund a franchise, but you have to demonstrate that you are responsible with finances. And one of the ways to do that is through having a high credit score. So that is key. Another one is be an effective communicator. You have to talk to people, all kinds of people, all the time, and get comfortable with the varying ways of talking to people, via text, email, Zoom. You have to be able to be responsive and receptive to the franchisor, the funders, vendors, your employees. So that is key. Another one is critical thinking skills. And I want to put a pin in it that you need to be an effective and faithful self-advocate. You have to know when you need help, what kind of help you need, and where to look for it. And that part comes from building a network of people who support you too, and resources. And finally, I'll just say that you have to have courage over fear, Al, because entrepreneurship and fear go hand in hand. It is a scary proposition to step out there on your own, but we encourage people to trust themselves. We are capable. We are capable people, and with these systems in place, it is just a possibility, and the results, the what could be, far outweighs the fear. You have to embrace the fear, maybe like you would an old friend who is encouraging you to push yourself and reach beyond the safe spaces that we kind of tend to cling to kind of tether ourselves to our comfort zones. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Step outside of that, and that's where the magic happens.
So a question, Larvel, does a person, for example, need to look at franchises in areas where she or he already has some expertise? For example, do you need to know how to shingle a house in order to own a roofing franchise, or do you need to be a dog groomer in order to own a, say, mobile pet grooming business? How does that preparation
Yeah.
and familiarity influence what you do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Al, because on the surface you would think, yeah, I have to know about those things in order to do it. But the truth is you do not. The preference is that you work on the business and not in the business. That's just a very basic tenet that is preferred by most franchisors. So you don't have to know how to roof a house in order to own a roofing company, but you should have good management skills. You should be able to deal with people, good communicator. Some of those things I said before will be most important. Be coachable, because they will teach you. They will provide the training, services, and support to get you up to speed on the industry and how the system works. And you are just the driver of that train. And so, no, you don't have to work in the business, but your goal should be working on and growing the business.
So have you and Randy discovered that there's a market in terms of our people who are considering or would consider becoming franchise owners? You're consulting. What are you finding? And what's your growth plan for the work that you're in right now?
hmm Well, I sure hope so. I sure hope to reach as many folks as I can, Al, because I mean, currently industry wide, there's only 6% of the franchise owners are Black. So there's room for that. And I think it's 31% are female. So there's absolutely room to grow, but I think in order for it to grow, people have to know about it. And so
Mhm.
I'm doing what I can to spread the word and bring in people who are interested, and talking to anybody who is interested. I don't have any kind of caps on you need this, that, or the other before I talk to you. I want you to know. Uh, You cannot make an informed decision unless you know what your options are. And
Mhm.
so I want to tell people about their options. Franchise fees can, range anywhere from $5,000 to $59,000. I refer to that as the cover charge. That just gets you in the door, right? That gets you the license. But then the other portion of it, you have to factor in startup costs and operating expenses. And so I take a look at the whole picture, tell you what required, and then help you map out a plan to get there. Some people may not be ready right
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
but knowing what you need to get ready is part of the process too. And so I'm hopeful that I will get to reach as many people and inform them that it is an option. It might not be for everybody, Al. Some people are great at entrepreneurship, starting their own thing,
Mhm.
right? From the bottom up. Some people are great at that. And this may not be, franchising may not be for them. But for those um, who can buy into a process and follow that process and have some of those skills that I talked about before, this is absolutely an opportunity, an option for wealth building and legacy for your family.
I think we have a graphic. I'm not sure if we showed it yet already, but if we haven't, let's look at it and kind of walk us through that.
Yes.
Walk us through this just briefly.
Okay, so in general, there's three ways to own a franchise business. You have the owner operator. That requires the most of your time day to day. They're usually in there working on the business day to day operations, and that usually requires a less of an investment. Okay, so less money, more time. The passive owner is someone who maybe needs to or wants to keep their day job. They want to get this business up and running and grow it to a point where eventually they would leave that full-time job and run and grow this business and maybe start a second. So that's the passive owner. Again, so that's a little more money, a little less of your time. So this last one is an executive owner, and this is one where they have no desire to be a part of the day-to-day operations of the business. They want to buy a company, invest in a company that they can hire people to run, essentially, is a way to think of it. And so requires the most amount of money and the least amount of your time. So, and you could fall into any of those categories. You can move from the owner operator through to the other one if you grow your business and add on others. So this is just gives you a just kind of a snapshot of different opportunities.
Well, I see your phone number is there. Why don't you share that so people can call you if they have a request or need more information?
Absolutely. 612-345-8830. That's my direct number. You can call or text me. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to bring Elder Atum back in sort of a roundtable conversation, reminding the viewers, thanking them for tuning in, thanking the people who have posted questions or comments in the chat. And if you have more comments, we'd love to share those. Thank you, Comfort Dondo, and thank you, Peace Speaks, for your comments about the event coming up Saturday. Kristen Spargo, thank you. And Mary Seeker Ra, thank you so much as well. I will come back in a second and talk about community, about culture, about entrepreneurship. Stay tuned. Are you or someone you know recovering financially from the COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdown, or any other reason? If so, help is available. Findhelp.org is a site to find a wide range of resources, including food, medical care, and more. The best part is based on your zip code. Visit findhelp.org, enter your zip code and the service you need. You'll get a map directing you to the organizations that can help you. Help is waiting at findhelp.org. If you need help starting anew, findhelp.org is the site for you. We're back. I'm Al McFarlane. This is the Conversation with Al McFarlane. I want to bring in both of our guests, Elder Atum Azzahir and Sister Larvel Bunker. And so I'm always interested in this question of entrepreneurship. And Elder Atum, I remember reading that when the Greeks first encountered the Egyptians, they marveled at the grasp of philosophy. I think they wrote that they had encountered a people whose ordinary language equaled the most profound philosophical thought, that their every utterance was that profound and that clearly considerate of the cosmos, of the creative urge, and that they came across us that way. And I say that we have to rediscover that identity, because that's who we still are. We haven't changed. Some of that we've it's been hidden from us, but our mission is to rediscover that authenticity. And I wonder, for example, Larvel, wouldn't it be great if people came from another planet and looked at these people on Earth and said, oh, those are African people. Those are the entrepreneurs. Those are the philosophers. Those are the human beings par excellence, because they represent the highest attainment of what human beings are and have attained thus far and continue. Atum, what do you think?
Wow. Well, let me start by saying to you, Sister Larvel, that it was great to hear you today. And also, there was a picture, I think, that we brought that had to do with the Cultural Wellness Center's Community Health Hub. So I'd like to show that. And it has all of the circles on it, if you don't mind, Cooper, just to show that quickly. This is to show, and the top it says, in Community Health Hub, we offer a map to wellness grounded in culture, engagement, community, and connections. And you will see in those circles everything from culture and community to financial literacy. So I wanted to show you that because people could call us. And one of the things in preparedness that we have to pay a lot of attention to now, you can take it down, brother. I wanted to, is Laura, you said this preparedness, financial preparedness. You talked about the credit score. In the work that we do, we talk about the credit, you talk about the credit score, and we talk about credibility. So in our community, we now have to think about not only the credit score, but credibility. What is our credibility? Not just among other people who we're trying to get credit from, but in our own community. Our credibility includes, back to the ancient times, reciprocity. In other words, we have to give and get at the same time. And money is a part of getting, but our credibility and our caring about each other is a part of the giving part. You talked also about networking, which is very critical. In our cultural practices, the kinship network, you have to work with the kinship network, and we have to put that in the context of cultural capital. So the cultural capital that we have to have when we go to make an entrepreneur, to start a business, we usually don't count what the money is that exchanges between us and someone who is braiding our hair, or us and someone who is taking care of our children. In our business plan, you have to put an amount of money. You have to monetize those activities that we do for and with each other as a part of where we go back, Brother Al McFarlane, to ancient times. That's what people saw. They saw us being together, living together, working together. And part of the enslavement process was to change that system, that infrastructure of culture, and make us think we were alone, that nobody cared about us, and that what we had to do was to take and not expect anything to be given in return. So that's where I would connect what we do with what Larvel is saying. And one thing is, in terms of entrepreneurship, is so powerful because the model that we offer as the Cultural Wellness Center, we called it this kind of incubated initiative. Small businesses, home-based businesses, activities that people know how to do but don't want to create an organization. They do within the context of the Cultural Wellness Center. And we provide the back rooms kind of activities that they need, bookkeeping and budgeting and those kind of things. The backroom activities they don't have to worry about, but they have to have an excellent product. And we have to see that excellence also is capital. So that's how we handle within the context of ancient Kemet and ancient culture, what Larvel is saying, which is exciting to be here with you today for that reason.
Larvel, I didn't get a chance to ask you about your own personal story. And I just say that you're a native of Minnesota. Whose shoulders do you stand on? And when you look at and consider your legacy, what stories, what influences, what power both drives you and enables you?
Thank you, Al. I'm the youngest of six. All my siblings, there's 6 years between me and the sibling closest to me, and I'm the only one born in Minnesota. We came here by way of Midland, Texas, where my mom was raised, and I've been a Minnesotan my whole life, and so I grew up in and around St. Paul. Um, and I say in and around because we moved a lot. My mom raised all six of us on her own as a single mother, and absolutely, I stand on her shoulders and get strength from her. That never giving up, that fearlessness I talked about, that um, community also, right? Keeping all of us together, and it was very important to her that we didn't go to jail, and education she instilled in us was very important. She had to drop out and help with the family when she was in 8th grade. So absolutely, my siblings and my family, and then people I encountered. I'm a graduate of St. Paul Central, and there were great examples there, like Katie McWatt and Frank, and a lot of people in that Summit Youth community that I grew up in that we could look to, Mahmoud Al-Kati, so that I had good examples of folks to aspire to be like. And I think part of that is that excellence. You talked about it too. Excellence is capital, and seeing somebody who is representing excellence inspired the same in me, right? Show up, be the best I can be, and to come back and help the community. And so I do see this work as helping others is very important to me, and it's all I've known since I was a kid. So my mom would go and help take Frankie to the grocery store and cook with her, and so I come by it naturally, but I don't take credit for it because it is just within me, and I'm trying to step into it the best way that I can.
I did some interviews with some of the newly elected legislators in the last round, and women in particular. What a wonderful class of leaders they are bringing to the legislature and to city government over there in St. Paul, and even here in Minneapolis. One of the legislators, however, she had already served one term, reelected, and a person of color, not an African American, but she might have been, I can't remember exactly, but she said, we are coming into this legislature differently because there's a lot of money on the table, and we are comfortable redirecting that money to our communities. And I'm saying that because I think that we're at a place in Minnesota and perhaps in the country, but right here with Bobby Joe Champion, for example, as the president of the Minnesota Senate, and with this class of senators and representatives, and now the entire city council of St. Paul being women, and a great number of women and people of color leading the majority of the Minneapolis City Council, people of color. The mayor of Golden Valley, a Black woman, and now 2 mayors in Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, Black people as well. A lot is happening, and in that arena, our people are discovering the right and the ability to move resources through our community in ways that we met resistance to before.
Yes.
They would allow or help to a degree, but help in ways that almost guaranteed failure. And then they'd say, I told you, you guys aren't able to manage. It's almost like saying, I told you, you aren't able to manage freedom. Don't you want to be a slave?
That's right.
That's what it really comes down to. But I think things are changing. What do you think about that analysis, Elder Atum? And where are we now? And how do we run with this And I think that where we are is on a path for victory. Victory is imminent and inevitable. That's my thought. Elder?
Well, Brother Al, once again, Senator Bobby Joe Champion, many of these young people that I call them young, who are in positions, really and truly, I've watched them grow up, and I feel so grateful to have been around when they were growing up. When he was, as a matter of fact, a gospel singer, part of that. So many of the young people who are in these key positions also take with them the spirit of our people. And I continue want to go back that culture begins with spirituality, and it gives us this capacity of continuity. And so each of them, we continue to Andrea at the city council, Minneapolis City Council, Jenkins, have also been, I have watched, her grow up and been a part of her family. We are really in a position where we have to be proud of who we are and what we are. And I want to call and ask Cooper one more time to bring up the last handout that I gave that is with all the people on. This is really consistent with what you're asking. This is about Robert Taylor, a cultural wellness center health hub food artist. This is my son. The way his food enters our heart and soul and cause us to think of food as medicine is another example of heritage, of passing down what we have. What my mother had that she passed down through me to him is how to make food give you a sense of forgiveness by God. I'm not kidding you. The young people who are in the legislature now are in a similar position. It may sound like their position is disconnected from food and medicine and culture. But as a people, we incorporated all of those things, the laws that we promote, the wealth that we created, the sense of worship and so forth. All of those things are together. They are not separated. So the laws these young people are going to be and policies that they're going to be advocating for us and the money that gets distributed is based in this idea of culture and cultural wellness and wholeness. And that's what I'd like to say is we are in a powerful place at this point in time. Seeing you, Sister Larvel, and hearing you makes me know that even though we have only met today, you carry forward much of what I carry forward and Brother Al carry forward. But we don't have to have met to make that happen. It's a part of our nature and a part of our spirit and a part of our relationship with the divine. So, Mr. McFarlane, you know that when we get on, we preach. So I want you to know that that's my sermon for today.
Well, I'm going to call that the mic drop. That was it. Because I was simply feeling it, Elder Atum. I'm feeling it in my gut, and it's a good feeling. So I thank you. Sister Larvel, great conversation. Great to be with you. And I look forward to collaborating with you. I want to help you and promote, elevate your work in inviting people into the awareness of opportunity and support them like you support them. And let's build one brick at a time. We're building something new. We're building for the next age, and it starts with us. We can do it. Listen, always thank you, Mother Atum. It's a gift being with you. Thank you so much. Until next time, I'm Al McFarlane. This is The Conversation with Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Have a great